Yeah, Arrowhead Chiefs. It's your girl, Miss Nicole. Queen of Hustle, baby. Started from the bottom, now we here. My homie at the start of his career. Let's go. Try to warn him early, hear the truth. Tune in every Sunday for the juice. Arrowhead Chief Podcast, bringing all the news. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Chris Style, out here rapping for the crew. Post-game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube. If you missed the play, come back for reviews. Post-game highlights, go subscribe on YouTube.
What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You are tuned in to the Arrowhead Chief Podcast, episode 221. Hope everybody's having a good evening, whatever you're doing. You're at work, you're at home, whatever you're doing. We appreciate you tuning in to the show. Everybody's listening on the playback. Appreciate you too. We got special guests in today. Of course, returning guests, friends of the show, DJ Diamond Diva. Of course, she's back on the show. And, of course, my guy, Ed Easton Jr. What's up? What's up? How are you two doing?
Good. I can't complain.
Great. Happy to be on here. You know, looking forward. We're still talking football in the offseason. So,
yeah. We got a lot to talk about, you know. We haven't talked really since the Super Bowl, unfortunately. You know, that mess. Just give us, you know, DJ Diamond, give us your quick thoughts on the Super Bowl and how you felt.
Onward and upward, pretty much. There's not a whole lot great to talk about the Super Bowl, quite frankly. Xavier Worthy was kind of the glimmer of the Super Bowl, showing that he is more than likely going to be a force to be reckoned with. I mean, to me, he was doing good all year to be a rookie. He picked up on the offense, which is big because a lot of players can't understand and pick up on the offenses easily. So that was good. And I think he developed a lot of confidence from that as well. So I'm excited for his future with the team. The defense, I felt like they were in it to win it for a while. We had a play that I felt was called bad that extended the drive for Philadelphia early on and led to that touchdown. But like I said, things like that happen. So I'm not hanging my hat on that. But the offense just never got out the gate. And when the offense can't move the ball, I mean, it was probably third quarter before we even got past the 50. I mean, like it wasn't the best day. So I just would like to, if I could, just move past that. But ultimately, like I said, we back in it. You know, that's the good thing. We got a lot of people that we were able to retain. So I'm just excited about, you know, this upcoming season and kind of looking forward to what we're going to do after we make the adjustments in the Super Bowl.
For sure. All right, Ed, what was your perspective of the Super Bowl?
Well, definitely a lot of what Diamond was saying. And when you look at the team and how they were the whole season, there were a ton of games where you could look at and say, okay, this could have gone either way. Yes, the record, you know, is what it was. It was a great season, but there were plenty of games where you see, okay, they could have dropped it here. I keep going back to that Denver game where there had to be a miracle block field goal in order to win the game. I go back to the Chargers game where it had to be a doink off the goalpost to win the game. So it was just one of those moments where, yes, the team is talented, but a lot of flaws were all shown on the biggest stage. The offensive line, the biggest thing that everyone's looking at, left tackle, obviously Joe Thuney was filling in, doing a great job for the season. But when you're going against a pass rush of the Eagles, that defensive line is no joke. You got so many guys there from Georgia, and they really just went to town. You're talking about a Philadelphia Eagles defense that didn't blitz the entire game, was able to get there with their front four. So that was obviously the biggest concern. We talk about the offense, Patrick Mahomes not really having the time to throw the football. And then when he did have the time, he made some poor decisions that he openly admitted to. So it was very uncharacteristic. The biggest issue that I really saw outside of the offensive line, on defense, there was a lot of big plays given up. We could go to the Trent McDuffie, whether or not that was a penalty or not. You know, we could talk about that to the end. But I just look at where the pass rush was on our side, and it's pretty much non-existent for a majority of that game. Jalen Hurts was very comfortable in the pocket. whatever could go wrong went wrong in that game, and it's gonna, it's obviously gonna leave a bad taste in everyone's mouth. But I think this is a wake up call in regards to what they did in free agency so far and what they're going to do in the draft, because there are some holes that need to be filled. And like I said, free agency, we already saw some things. That trade, that Joe Thuney trade, it changes a lot in terms of what this team is going to look like next season.
Yeah, I've already, talked about the Super Bowl, but just to give a quick summary, I felt the same way you guys felt. My frustration was on offense was Andy Reid not, helping the team out. He tends to just roll with the flow and just be like, whatever, we're gonna go out on our shield and we gonna play. And it's just like, man, you can't run the football a little bit, man. Like, just help him out a little bit. Like, they just rushing forward. It's not like, they blitz, like you said, they weren't blitzing. They was just
not one blitz.
It wasn't like it was some complicated scheme where they just tricked the offense. No, it was Josh Sweat coming off the edge, just pushing Joe Thuney right into Patrick Mahomes, or Mike Kelly-Hendo getting punked by Nolan Smith. Like, it was just Milton Williams and, all those guys, just Jalen Carter. They was just rushing forward and getting after it. And it just seemed like, Andy Reid and them, they had one bad running play, and it was just like, oh, okay, we ain't doing that no more. Like, it was just like, come on, man, you can't help him out a little bit, like just a little, just to, get the pressure off of Patrick Mahomes, because he was feeling it, you know what I'm saying, especially with the Cooper DeJean pick. Like, and even with that pick, it was just like, all right, we still can get 7 on the board, we'll be all right. And then it was just like, Joe Thuney got knocked into him and he throws the pick, and it was just like, that was kind of the backbreaker right there for me. And it was just like, all right, I think this is over. And then the DeAndre Hopkins drop, it was just like, yeah, this ain't our day. This ain't our day. The Eagles got this in the bag. So, and like you said, Ed, this offensive line is the big talking point for the Chiefs this offseason. As you can see, they signed Jalen Moore from the San Francisco 49ers. He was the backup to Trent Williams. He played all of 4 games since he's been in the league, and in those 4 games, a lot of people have had some encouraging things to say about him, but it is a small sample size, so we don't really know how good Jalen Moore is. I've heard some good things from people who watch film on him and say, hey, there's potential there, but we won't know until the first few snaps or the first few games of the season, how this offensive line is. Then you got the whole Kingsley Suamataia moving to guard. Now, a lot of people say that he might be better at guard.
I think it is. Mm-hmm.
It's a great move.
Yeah, his athletic profile, he might be better at guard. It might be better suited for him. And that happens. Mekhi Beckham is the perfect example of that. He was highly talented left tackle coming out of college. Didn't work out. He moved to guard. He's actually been really good at being a guard. So they're hoping for the same success. I was surprised about the Joe Thuney trade. I was surprised that it happened, but I'm not surprised for the reason. I get it. You're going with the younger guy in Trey Smith. Joe Thuney, as much as he's an all-pro and he deserves all the extensions in the world, he deserves a gold jacket for this season. But I understand why, the Patriots used to do this all the time. They would get off players, 2 years before the floor falls from them, you know what I'm saying? And they don't look like themselves no more. So I get it. Red V just like, look, we're going to go with the younger guy. We're going to pay the younger guy. You can't pay 2 guards high. You can't make them both highest paid players in the game. So you got to pay one of them. So they went with Trey Smith, and I'll get on Trey Smith in a minute. And then, you bring back most of your guys back, you know what I'm saying, from Charles Omenihu, you brought back Mike Purnell, you re-signed Nick Bolton. They chose Nick Bolton over Justin Reed. That's age over, production type deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, Justin Reed had a really good year.
He's a force.
Yeah. And I love Nick Bolton. It's always a discourse with Nick Bolton. It's split down the middle. It's either you love him or you hate him.
And I think part of that too is Jalen Hicks is pretty solid as well.
Yeah,
and he's still in his rookie contract. So if you have a young guy that you don't have to pay who's got potential and who's holding his own was under Justin Reed with Justin Reed. I understand why they made that decision because, like I said, you can't pay everybody, unfortunately. So I understand. As much as I wanted Justin Reed to be here, I understand why that move was made. And they kept voting.
And I'm excited for Jaden Hicks. I saw the flashes in that kid, even from college. You know, I saw a couple games from him when he was at Washington State. So I knew the dude when he dropped to like the 5th round. I was like, man, he's still there. So, he's definitely going to be a force next year. I'm really looking forward to see how he plays in the secondary. Christian, go ahead.
Yeah, just kind of want to add on to that. And I think knowing that they have so much depth in the secondary, so many young players, you know, outside of just Hicks, you want to get guys more looks. And in the way Spagnuolo's defense is set up, he has these different packages where he's putting out different guys in the secondary. So you see so many guys playing. Having Justin Reed, where's a guy that you obviously are paying as your veteran starter, he really didn't have to be out there every single down. A lot of times you saw him was like on 3rd down on rushing the quarterback. He didn't have to play as much as he did, I would say, the previous season because of the depth at secondary. So it made sense long term. And a guy like Nick Bolton, obviously when he's healthy, he's one of the better linebackers in the NFL. He's a guy that should have been a Pro Bowler a long time ago. I believe 1 year where he should have been an All-Pro. I think he led the AFC in tackles.
But outstanding in the Super Bowl against the Eagles that we won.
That was a huge moment, you know, and just his knack for playing the game. He's a signal caller on defense. So these are things that you can't really like replace right away. He's still a young guy. Justin Reed, he was demanding a large amount of money. Let's be honest here for a safety. You know, I'm not trying to devalue safeties here, but no one's going to pay that big amount unless you're New Orleans Saints and you just need players. You're going to pay that amount.
All of our defensive players.
Yeah. And I just find it funny that they had Tyrann Mathieu. They brought back the Saints they took from the Chiefs, and now they also get Justin Reed. So it must be something with the Chiefs. They just love going after the secondary.
And they both play with each other with the Texans.
Yeah, look at that. So that's what they wanted.
Yeah. But I do like the Christian Fulton signing. I think that's one of my favorite signings is bringing him in. Now you can put Trent McDuffie back at his natural position in the slot, and you could have him and Jalen Watson on the outside, and you have more depth in that position. Even if they draft another guy, you know, you're not expecting that young, and especially unless that young guy balls out in training camp, you're not expecting that young guy to come in and be a full
unless
starter.
he's another Snead.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he's just a baller or somebody drops, like for whatever reason, let's say Will Johnson from Michigan drops. I don't expect it to happen, but if he drops at 31, you might have to take him with Trent McDuffie. So, but the Christian Fulton, Elijah Mitchell, he's a good signing if he's healthy. If he can stay healthy, he has a little juice in him, and that's what we need in the running back room.
I think his role would make it a lot easier. I mean, he's not going to be asked to do a lot. That's why they brought back Kareem Hunt. You're looking at him to be more of a 3rd down running back kind of situation. Samaj P. Ryan was playing for us. So I think when you have a guy like Elijah Mitchell who has that big game potential as your 3rd down back, you're preserving him. So you don't have to worry too much about him being on that many snaps. And I just think it helps them moving forward. So Elijah Mitchell, I think that was one of those sneaky signings that we're going to be talking about by week 8 as being like so clutch as to winning a couple of games.
Yeah, and then of course bringing back Hollywood Brown. I think the Chiefs are telling us like, look, man, we didn't really get to see this offense in its full array. Hollywood got hurt in the first preseason game. Then unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes took out Rashee Rice's knee, and then it was just Xavier Worthy and Juju Smith-Schuster and a prayer. And then we get DeAndre Hopkins, and he looks good, the first few games, and then it was just like down the stretch. He was just non-existent. So I just think that they're looking at it like when we get Rashee Rice back, we get Hollywood, a second year of Xavier Worthy, I think this offense is going to be way better than what it was. We're going to get to see what this offense was supposed to look like if everybody stays relatively healthy. So I love the Hollywood signing. I'm glad he's back. But of course, I love Charles Omenihu being back. You know what I'm saying? You saw the market wasn't what he thought it was going to be because he wants to get paid, and I get it. But unfortunately,
Coming off the ACL,
yeah,
it's realistic, talented player, but he wasn't even playing pretty much full snaps. By the postseason. So I think this is a great situation for him. And just moving forward, I like what they did with the defense, keeping a lot of players that have a lot to prove as well, because who has a lot to prove. And then, just a not so fun fact, but Christian Fulton, did you realize that he's the player was on that interception where Rashee Rice got hurt? He's the player on the Chargers that got that interception. So it's a weird way how things kind of just go full circle when you look at the team.
Right.
But I really like what they got for Spags. And, he's going to dial up a lot of different schemes and things like that with a full training camp. So there's some weapons there.
Yeah. Shout out to Turk Warden. He went and got paid with Carolina. Well deserved. Had a great year last year. He's bounced back since he's had his ACL tear. So shout out to him, man, getting that 3-year, $54 million bag. So, that's generational wealth, life-changing wealth for him. So I'm happy for him. Sorry to see him go, but happy that he got paid for sure. So
big part of that, Brandon Tillis, who former Chiefs front office guy, goes over to the Carolina Panthers. He's one of the first people that said he wanted Turk Warden when he was a free agent. So stuff like that helps. There's so many Chiefs front office guys spread all over the NFL. That's going to be a continuous thing.
Now let's get back to Trey Smith. Now, Trey Smith, they franchise tag him $23.4 million. And, a lot of people were kind of surprised by that franchise tag because at first it was reported that they weren't going to franchise tag him. They were going to try to get a deal done. Well, we haven't got a deal done yet. We were expecting, you expect, I know Trey wants to get paid. He's a 6th-round pick. So he's trying to secure it because this might be his only big contract that he's going to get. So he's trying to secure the bag. But, what level of concern are you right now that this deal hasn't got done yet? I'll start with you, Diva.
I'm not truly concerned about it at this time. I think they'll work something out. I do feel like there are plenty of teams that would pick him up if he is available on that tag. However, I think that he's wanting to stay. I think that even right now with the tag, he's still highest paid in that position. So it's showing, I think, that the Chiefs do value him in that role. So right now, I'm not concerned that he's going to get away. I just think it's just part of them trying to put together all the pieces and make something work that is agreeable with him. And then also so that the Chiefs can still have options. Because ultimately, we all trying to get the chip. That's what the goal is. And so got to have money to get people and all of that. But like you said, at the same time, everybody's trying to get paid, rightfully so. They deserve to. So I think it's just finding that balance. I do think it'll get done. But I think it better because, like I said, if we don't, then I could see somebody swooping him up for sure. But I think that Brett Veach will get it done because he made that a point to mention that early on, that was a priority for them. So I think it'll get done.
What about you, Ed?
Yeah, it's something I see getting done as well. I think a big part of why, obviously, they had to go with the franchise tag. There was a lot of cap issues in terms of what were they going to do with Mahomes. They had to restructure Mahomes. They had to restructure Chris Jones. They had to make the Joe Tooney trade just to really even get to this point because of Joe Tooney's money left on the books. So you look at what they had to do to kind of move money around, and then you have to also look forward to the draft. I mean, there's a really good chance they will go after an offensive lineman in the first round. So that's money as well. So there's a lot of different factors that go into it. I don't see it dragging on too long. I always feel like deals like this, probably around training camp, probably around the preseason. I go back to Noah Gray getting a deal done during training camp. Creed Humphrey got a deal done during, I think it was like the first preseason game or second preseason game. They announced that the deal was done. So I just think it's evaluation as well as what they see long-term in terms of that offensive line. But Trey Smith should be in a good space. He spoke about it recently on Kay Adams' show where he said that right now he wants to stay in Kansas City. And, obviously we could always say, okay, well, he says that right now. But going by the track record with Brett Veach, he usually does a good job of keeping these guys because there was one point where we thought Chris Jones was on his way out. So I feel like they get a deal done, but right now they want to see what they have in the draft, and they want to see where different pieces fall, and I think that's the biggest factor for them.
Well, they got till July to get something done. So, to get an extension done. So I'm not too worried about it. Would I like them to hurry and get it done? Yeah, because they need money. They want to extend this cap out. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not too concerned. I think it'll get done. I think it'll get done probably around May, top of May. I think, you'll hear something about an extension with Trey. So they better get something done because they chose Trey over Joe Tooney. Initially, that's what they did. They chose Trey over, and it would be a massive letdown if they don't get nothing done, and then Trey walks.
It's the right move. It's the right move for a franchise. You gotta go with the younger player. Mm-hmm. It just makes sense.
I agree. Now with the draft coming up, before I get into any like prospects that I would love for the Chiefs to get, what are some of your draft outside, of course, offensive line? What are some other draft needs do you think the Chiefs need? Diamond.
Offensive line. I mean, there is no outside of that for me. Obviously, I think, there's things that we could definitely tighten up, but I do think that the Chiefs did a good job with kind of filling in those glaring holes that we had. Now, obviously, like you said, we don't know what our new left tackle is going to do, how he's going to be. We have to see how these people produce and what training camp looks like. But on his face, we've at least addressed some of those issues. Now, I think, like I said, the O-line, you kind of can't skip past it because that's everything. You got to keep Pat on his feet. There's no chance if Pat doesn't have opportunity to do what he needs to do. So to me, that's first and foremost. Because of, like I said, the fact that I think the Chiefs have done a good job with addressing some of those issues by getting a tackle. We've got a corner. We picked up another RB. We've signed Hollywood Brown. We're expecting to have Rasheed Rice back. So some of the big positions have been filled. I would say we're in a good position in the draft to kind of see what comes to us because throughout the years, teams have been criticized from letting us move up. So I think they've learned their lesson that nobody wants to help the Chiefs get anything or get anybody in the draft. But because we've addressed some of those issues, we can kind of sit back and see who's available. I mean, there's some great wide receivers. I never think that that's a bad opportunity if somebody is available when it comes to us. I think there's a corner out there. That's still another opportunity. I don't think that we're against beefing our corners up. So those are, I would say, the two, if we just have to pick outside of O-line, I would say I'm looking at a cornerback position and then also some of these wideouts, because if you can give Pat as many options as you can, I say load it up. He's only getting older, so it's time to run it up, give him the weapons, protect him, and then give him people to throw to, is what I would look at. But like I said, I think we're in a prime position to be able to see where the chips fall. I don't think there's anybody that, at least of right now, that we just have to put it all on the line to move up to get. So we're in a position to kind of just see who falls and who's available when we get to our number.
What's your thoughts, Ed?
The best of that.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to piggyback what you just said. I said, look, if Travis Hunter was available, just for obviously this would never happen, but I'm pretty sure they would jump on and take him.
Yeah.
Definitely with that. But I do agree with you in terms of the offensive line is the main focus, but I do want to focus on the defensive line as well. I think you need to add somebody else on that line. I know Karlaftis, which you have at the end. They brought back Omenihu. Of course, Chris Jones is Chris Jones, but let's be realistic. Chris Jones is not going to be there each down. He's kind of a guy that you want to have like on second, third down, being able to rush the quarterback, being able to do these different things to help disrupt the offense. So I look at the defensive line prospects. There's so many good defensive linemen in this draft. The pass rushers in this draft are amazing. You're talking about
some tackles.
There's some good defensive linemen in this draft. So I can't ignore that. Same way you can't ignore all the good running backs that are in this draft as well.
Deep class.
Very deep class.
You're going to get some people that fall. There's going to be some people available.
Listen, the way we got Pacheco a couple years ago in the 7th round, you're going to have a situation like that where there's going to be some good running backs on day 3. So I really see that as little spots that you want to pick up because realistically, like I said, Kareem Hunt, he's up there in age.
Yeah.
He's technically like our second running back. Pacheco has been injury prone, as talented as he is, he's also another guy that did not get an extension yet, which is a big thing that may become a story later. And obviously Elijah Mitchell, injury prone, but he is going to be most likely our third down back. So I think it doesn't hurt to look for a running back late in the draft. But I feel like if you're going to go offensive lineman, you have to also look at the defensive line second, running back third. And then, like I said, I like our cornerback depth, but it doesn't hurt if there's a good, valuable player down the line, whether it's day 3 or day 2, to pick up a corner. But I just think the big 3, offensive line, defensive line, and running back.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. Defensive tackle is very high because the thing about the offensive linemen in this draft is that for one, a lot of them got little baby arm, T-Rex arms, and you know how they don't like. A lot of them are talking about. A lot of them are getting talked about. Like Will Campbell was the guy, and now they're talking about like, oh, he's going to be a guard. It's like what?
That combine.
What's his name? Mimbo, whatever his name is. Mizzou.
Yeah, this is one I'm looking at. Yeah,
local guy.
I'm always Mizzou.
He got little arms too. So it's like these, but then you have guys like Josh Simmons, who before the injury he was going to probably be the top guy and be a lottery pick, but he got hurt. And it's a serious injury, and even if he's there at 31. Yeah, look at those medals.
I think he's the pick. If we're being honest, if he's available that late in the draft where you don't have to move, I think he's the pick because you already got obviously Jalen Moore is the guy they brought in to be the starter, but they didn't really pay Jalen Moore like potential Pro Bowl money.
That position's open. Yeah,
you see what I mean? So this is something that they can kind of compete and battle for. So you're not really losing too much by picking up Simmons. If he's a project, then he's a project. But I think his upside makes it so interesting, and you can't pass on him if he's there at 31. Like you can't pass.
Well, that's upside. I think that's the case in a lot of these positions, and that's what I was saying. There's opportunity in, like you said, running backs, receivers, corners. There's a lot of tackles, and it just, I think it's gonna work in our benefit. I personally think that we've been pretty good at the draft. I think we've had some good sneaky pickups. We've had some that we've moved up and gotten. And so I think that continues this year. And like I said, there's a few big names. I think we're really good at developing talent as well. So really if we get any, I like Mimbu. He was on my list to be number 1. I agree with you on Simmons for sure. If he can remain healthy. And then, like I said, I think with the Chiefs too, they're a team of opportunity. Nobody's really locked into the 1 yet. It's going to be what happens in training camp. Just like we saw with the running back room when Pacheco was number 1 until he wasn't, what I'm saying? He got hurt and then Kareem Hunt came in and did what he was supposed to do. So I think that position, like you said, is up for grabs. It's not necessarily at this point, you think Kareem is the 1 and then Pacheco is the 2 based on how this season went. But I just really think it's equal opportunity with the Chiefs. It's whoever we see is putting up numbers is who they're going to rock with and kind of build that relationship with. So somebody in the draft could very well, if they come in and shine, they could be the 1. It just, I think it's the sky's the limit.
Because I'm hearing Josh Simmons, I'm hearing what's his name? Josh Congerly from Oregon. Those are the 2 guys that they said supposedly the Chiefs are really look high on their board. Neither one of those
because they don't want us to get them.
Yeah, but if neither one of those guys are there, and Walter Nolan is sitting there at 31, you hand in the card, Brett Veach, and you put him next to Chris Jones, and we getting after the quarterback. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, Walter Nolan,
he's a problem.
Beast.
He is a problem. You think
he is going to be the heir apparent to Chris Jones. I tell you that.
Imagine him and Jones lined up together on the line. They're gonna do that on 3rd down. Steve Spagnuolo is that type of coordinator where he'll have both of those guys, Omenihu, Karlaftis, and just send them all, and still send a guy from the secondary. So, just thinking about that is amazing, but I have to stick to my guns. As much as Nolan would be the perfect guy, you got to get offensive lineman. If he's going to be there, if Simmons is there, you got to get the offensive lineman. That's
got to have some depth. We have to, because we saw with Humphreys, we picked up DJ Humphreys and didn't see anything. Grand opening, grand closing, got hurt immediately. So that's why I said that's a must. Like you got one, get another one, get a backup for that, because we saw in the Super Bowl there's nothing there's no offense if we can't keep Pat on his feet and comfortable. When he gets off kilter and is not getting time, that offense is just thrown out. Everything goes through him. So first, second, third, and then I'm just joking. But yeah.
But don't get me wrong, Chris. You are 100% correct. Walter Nolan is a problem. He is going to be a Pro Bowler in this league.
Now, I will say this. If the burden is sit there at 31, you got to think about it. You got to think about it, man. You got to think about it, man. Luther Burden's sitting there at 31. You got to think about it. You got to have a discussion, right?
I don't think he's going to be there. I don't think. It sounds good. I just don't see it. I don't think he'll fall.
Think he'll make it.
No, I don't think he falls either. I think he had a good combine. I think he had he showed everybody he got the speed. He can catch. I mean, last year was just a bad year for Mizzou. It was just a bad year. But I'm just saying, with the burden sitting there at 31, you got to think about it. You know what I'm saying? And I implore the Kansas City Chiefs. Look, I love Isaiah Pacheco. I love Kareem Hunt. Mm-hmm. I like the Elijah Mitchell signing. But if you don't get one of these damn running backs in this draft, I'm going to throw something at the TV. I'm telling you right now. I'm going to throw some. There's way too many running backs in this draft that you can't get you a guy that can be a every down back. Mm-hmm. Like, there are a whole bunch of them. Look,
it really is.
Either one of the Ohio State running backs, Caleb Johnson, RJ Harvey, like there's DJ Giddens, like, come on, man, get one of them. I don't care. Get one of them. That's all I'm saying. Just get one.
I think they will. I think they will.
Don't play with us, man. Don't play with us, bro.
We'll see.
Don't get no. What's his name? Carson Steele. No, we don't want that.
It's funny. I was going to mention Carson Steele, but considering the situation that he's going to be fighting for a job, come training camp. But then, if you're Andy Reid and you're Brett Veach, do you really just full-time make him a fullback? Do you incorporate the fullback back into the offense? Because it's been a number of years since they've done that. Yeah. And Steele has the ability to play fullback. So it's going to be a lot of question marks. And then also going to depend on the depth at tight end. Because is Wiley going to be healthy enough? Remember, he tore his ACL last year. Talented guy.
There's some good tight ends in this draft. I got some guys in this draft. Mason Taylor from the LSU is one of my guys, and that's Jason Taylor's son. He's really good. And that's another thing. If Loveland drops to 31, you got to think about it. Because he could be the heir apparent of Travis Kelce. I'm just saying. He can be the heir apparent.
Think about that.
Huh?
And you got to start thinking about that. This could be Kelsey's official.
That's what I'm saying. Like if Lovely, because I know he has injury issues, but when he's healthy, and he didn't have a good quarterback last year, but
Gray is emerging. This is I think a huge year for Noah Gray. We got to see what's going on because he did good last year, but it's like I agree with you. This is probably most likely Travis Kelce's last year. So it's like who's stepping up, and even still with this being his last year, we don't know what that's going to look like production wise for him. So a tight end is pretty good to be looking at.
There's some guys. There's some good talent in this draft that they can get, even if it's not, of course, not the first, but day 2, day 3,
yeah,
one of those guys. There's some guys in this draft that are really good that they could develop and bring in, and even if it's a pairing, you thinking, okay, next year we got Wiley, we got the Noah Gray, we got this young guy, what I'm saying, be a 3-headed monster. I'm fine with that, you know what I'm saying? But and there's some guys in day 2, day 3 wide receivers that are out there too that I wouldn't mind them if they're there, if it's good value.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple there's a hometown kid, what's his name? Joel Noel from Iowa State. He's nice. And then his the other guy that's on the same team, Jaden Higgins, was really good too. So
my only worry, and trust me, I love all these players. My only worry is if you go wide receiver, you look at the depth chart, the way it's set up now, you already have 3 guys you have to get the ball to.
Right.
So putting in another guy that he needs a volume of targets. Would it make sense to get him now or wait another year? You see that it's that type of thing. Like, would you want to go wide receiver?
If it gets to us and if somebody's really good that's available, I think it's room because we still don't know the availability of Rashee Rice. I don't anticipate it'll be too many games, but then you never know about injury. So I see what you're saying there. I wouldn't go high or trade, but if there's somebody on this list of people
like at 95, like at pick 95.
For me, it's day 3. I would go day 3 wide receiver because I feel like when they re-signed Juju, to me, that was them saying, okay, we're preparing if Rashee is not available, just to have Juju there as like a safety blanket. You know what I mean? We're not paying him a lot of money. It's a 1-year deal. Bringing another wide receiver in. Remember, you also got Justin Ross is going to be fighting for a roster spot again. You still got
Sky Moore.
Sky Moore. Hey, listen, Sky Moore's still on the team. Still on the team. I know people forget Sky Moore's still there. And then you also got the wide receiver, and his name is escaping me right now, that they acquired from the Patriots. That didn't get Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton.
Tyquan Thornton is also another option there. Remigio is probably going to be a kick returner, punt returner. So he's going to make the roster. So it's just realistically, that's why I say if we look wide receiver, it has to be somebody that has to slip to the day 3. That's the only way I would go wide receiver.
Yeah. I mean, there's some good day 3 wide receivers in there too. There's a guy out here from UNLV, Ricky White III. He was really highly productive at UNLV, and he could play special teams. He was one of the leading players in block punts. So, and he put up like big numbers, 1,300 yards, 1,200 yard season. So he's really highly productive guy that I wouldn't mind. He's there at the, 4, and he's sitting there in his good value. I wouldn't mind the Chiefs taking him at the 4th pick. So, but yeah, man, it's going to be interesting to see what the Chiefs do in their board. I know after they had their meetings today, they're going to get back to it and get their board. I mean, their board is probably already set. You know what I'm saying? They know the guys that they got high on their board. Brad Veach already got that stuff set up. He's just fine tuning and tweaking and doing all this other little stuff, but he's got the board ready.
I can tell you guys, just from being at the combine in like past years, the mock drafts after each combine or even during the combine changed so much that I always tell people wait till at least a week before the actual draft to really get a real assessment of these players. Because we went from at one moment talking about maybe Cam Moore's number 1 pick. Then I saw another draft. Cam Moore might be a guy that's in round 2. Like it's all these different things change. There's always different factors. These pro days. I always say wait till a week before the draft to really get a full assessment of where players are because things change. They change so much, especially during the combine.
Yeah. I think Cam's going number 1 overall. I think after that pro day, I think it's pretty set up that he's going to Tennessee. I think he's going to Tennessee. They shouldn't be banking another season of Will Levis. And,
I mean, Shedeur Sanders, 1 minute.
Now he's interesting. I don't know he's the question mark. And I think if the Giants got the pick, you take Shedeur Sanders. I don't care about no Russell Wilson. No, I love Jameis Winston. I love him, but get Shedeur Sanders, man. What y'all doing? Like the kid was highly productive at Jackson State, and he was productive at Colorado. He had a terrible offensive line, and he made stuff happen. Like, what are we doing here? Like the kid is accurate. He has enough. He has enough arm to throw it down the field. Like he's athletic enough. Huh?
Would he go?
Deion says he wants New York now. So, but I think the only issue that
Cleveland. He wouldn't go to Cleveland.
I don't think the Giants technically at this point. I don't think the Giants want him. I think the Giants are trying to punt and look towards next year or even a little further down. Obviously the Arch Manning things are going to start popping up. That's going to start popping up, and that's what they start thinking about. So. That's what they're not looking at a quarterback in the first.
They're gonna draft Jackson Dart in the second round.
Yeah, that's exactly what they'll do. They'll take Travis Hunter in the first round.
Yeah, then they'll take Jackson Dart. That's what they're gonna do. Tyler Skoll, whatever. But Shedeur is gonna be interesting to see where he falls. I don't think he gets past the Saints.
You think he's the Saints? Yeah.
I don't think he gets past the Saints. If they're smart, like Derek Carr's gonna get hurt. He's gonna get hurt.
That's been his history.
He's gonna get hit and he's gonna get hurt. And you don't want another year of old boy. What's his name? Drafted last year.
I know who you're talking about. Hafner? Is it Hafner or Rattler? No,
Rattler. Spencer Rattler.
Spencer Rattler. Yes. They don't want to. They probably don't want to go another year with that.
But I think Cleveland might be Patrick Mahomes.
Cleveland would be the move. That's about it.
Yeah. We'll see though. He's the like I said, he's the mystery to me because I think Abdul Carter's going to Cleveland. I think they're going to pair him up with Myles Garrett and go after the passer, and I think they'll trade for your boy Kirk Cousins.
Oh, it's terrible. That's terrible.
Because him and Stefanski have a history. So
yeah, but I don't know how the Browns fans are going to go for that one.
Hey man, look, anything's better than Deshaun Watson right now.
Who they still got to pay?
They still got to. That's what I was going to get to. They have to pay him.
He ain't going to play this season.
He's going to be
retore his ACL. So
you got to pay him, and then you got to also pay Kirk Cousins too, because he's got a big contract.
He does have a big contract, but
I don't know if that would be smart.
They got to do something unless you want to roll. What's the dude name? Names are slipping me right now. He was the quarterback. He was the backup for the Eagles. Kenny Pickett. If you want to roll Kenny Pickett out there, I guess. Whatever.
I think it's gonna be a Pickett season.
Whatever.
if they don't draft Shador, it's gonna be a Pickett season. But that's
because they don't have them.
Because I don't think Atlanta's gonna. He ain't gonna want to be in Atlanta. He came there to play. He
doesn't have much of a choice.
He gonna ask for a trade. he's demanding a trade. Like, look,
Pittsburgh isn't rolled out yet.
No, they're getting a run. They're rolling the red carpet. They got him throwing passes to DK Metcalf and stuff. This is a mess. It's
gonna be a good season.
Doing all this rolling out the red carpet for Aaron Rodgers. Like, come on, man.
So that's okay. Well, I'll let you get into it, but that's what I was wondering. Like, it seems like that's where he might land.
He's going to Pittsburgh. He's just too many times. It's like you're throwing it to DK Metcalf. Like, oh, okay, yeah, you're going to Pittsburgh. You could have threw it to anybody you wanted to. You throw DK Metcalf.
Very unpredictable guy, so you never know.
Yeah.
He's all this drama for an old quarterback. All right, let's talk about stuff going around in the NFL, man. They had their league meetings today. All the coaches and GMs and owners got together in one room, and they talked about they made some rule changes, and I just want to get y'all opinions. They changed the overtime rule, so the playoff overtime rule where both teams can both get a possession now was in the regular season. How do you guys feel about that?
I mean, that's fine. I guess, it's fine till it isn't, because for some teams it's beneficial and for some it's not. We've been on the raw end of the stick on both times and no one changed the rule, but now they're changing the rules. So it's fine. I'm not against it too much. It make games a little longer. I'm fine with watching the games longer, but to me, I'm okay with. I think it's fair. It takes the pressure off of having to win the coin toss. It gives you an opportunity. So like I said, I wouldn't complain about it, but being that we've been on the raw end of the stick, it's just like, meh. Now, where was that when we needed it? Like,
right.
So,
what you think, Ed?
I'm gonna take a bold take on this one. I think it's a bad idea. I feel like we're going to do something that we haven't done in a while. We're going to be filling up the tie column a lot because now you're going to have these longer games, and it's only still going to be 10 minutes for overtime. They're not extending it for 15 minutes. So you're talking about both teams getting the ball. I can see this easily being a tie where both teams kick a field goal. 1 minute left. We're going to have these Hail Mary throws to the end zone or somewhere to get close. Oh boy. I'm telling you, I guarantee at least 4 to 5 ties around the league. I just can't see it where, they're going to finish everything up within the 10 minutes. I just can't see it with the way the NFL is set up. So maybe they want ties. I don't know. Everyone's going to be looking at percentage points when it comes to the playoffs, but I see that being the outcome.
I just think, this whole everybody wants to get a chance and everybody complaining in the media. Oh, Josh Allen didn't get a chance to get the ball. Well, he had a chance for 4 quarters. Ain't winning within the limits.
That's all I'm saying. I mean, like I said, it's fine, but it's like we're appeasing all the people who are upset when they weren't on the winning side of the ball. And then conversely, if you won the toss and then got your points, then now you're going to. So like I said, it's always going to be this back and forth. I'm just surprised that they're actually changing all these rules like that now at this stage, appeasing everybody now.
I mean, it's definitely going to make the people in Buffalo a lot happier. I feel like this is it's going to be another year now where there's been adjustments made. Listen, I don't want people in Buffalo in my DMs or any. I'm just saying this has been an ongoing trend when it comes to what happens in a matchup. You know, I think when we initially got the old overtime rules was because of what happened. And now we're getting this new change, and then we're also getting the change in regards to the first down marker. So, you know, I don't want to be that guy, but it's been happening with Buffalo games, you know.
And
Then
they changed the kickoff yardage. So when you do a touchback, because they want more kickoffs. So now if you get a touchback, it's on the 35-yard line, no longer on the 30-yard line. So they want more kickoffs in the game. They've been trying to figure out ways to get more kickoffs in the game. So I have no problem with this. You know, if you're gonna have a kickoff guy on there, you might as well make sure he has a job to do his job. So hey, I don't have no problem with the rule.
Yes, they want more excitement. I mean, safety was the biggest concern as to why they made the change, and you saw it slow down a bit. It was maybe I don't have the number in front of me, but there obviously weren't that many touchdown kickoff returns. So yeah, I get it.
And then they expanded the replay assist. So now, if official makes a call, they got the replay assist to help them out to correct any bad calls that they've made. These guys are human, so they can only catch so much stuff. So maybe you have a guy in the replay booth to say, hey man, you got that wrong. So let's take a look at it. And pass interference or, anything defensive holding or whatever. So
just taking the human element out of the game. I know it's going to be some people are going to argue that.
Well, there shouldn't be too many people upset because there were a lot of toxic and ridiculous statements that were made last year with the whole, Chiefs and the refs controversy. So now everybody gets what they want and we'll get to see everything. And so now we'll also be a benefactor of that as well, because there were a lot of things that went against us that people didn't see. So now hopefully that will help the Chiefs as well be on the receiving end of some of the calls that we didn't get.
And then in turn they'll be mad still. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Now the communication during legal tampering, teams are now permitted to have direct communication up to 5 free agent players during legal tampering through phone calls or Zoom calls. So whatever.
Yeah, that's not going to take. Look, I'm not going to say what I feel with that. When I don't think that changes much of how business is going to get done.
Yeah. They're going to still talk to about 100 players.
You got to put it in paper. You got to put it in pen and paper now to make it sound official. But
that's what they really do at the combine. So what's up with those boys?
Listen, I didn't say it, but
you ain't heard it from me.
And then they're doing the roster cut downs. They allow 2 players to go directly on injury reserve with a destination return without including them on the initial 53-man roster. So, you can have 2 guys on the IR and they don't go against your roster. Now, some of the things that they've tabled, but there are still going to be ongoing discussions, of course, is the playoff seeding based on record. Proposal to reseed playoff teams based on overall record rather than division titles was tabled. So if you're 14-3 and somebody wins the division 9-8, the 14-3 team should get the home game. That's what they're calling for. So
that's another one of those, once again, that could go either way. We have the conferences for a reason, and you draft for your division. Like I said, there's positives and negatives to both. I don't know that we need to change that. I think that it's still value in winning your division, regardless of how it performs. You should be, you won your division. So like I said, I don't feel too strongly either way about it, but I do think that that's one that I don't think we need to just adjust right away. Let's keep it where you get a reward for winning your division and then it's seeded that way. I get it. about the record. We had, I mean, I can't remember what year it was, but when Seattle, I think they were like 7-9 or something like that.
Yeah.
They got in and everybody was upset. You know, I get it. But at the end of the day, you have rules and win your division and you'll get seated. And if they're a low man, then you just have to, I don't know. I'm one of those people where you just have to do what you have to do. And every rule, sometimes it benefits you, sometimes it doesn't. But if we change everything to appease one team this season or whatever, then the next season or 2 seasons down the line, then we're going to find something wrong with that and how it doesn't affect somebody. So I don't think you can just keep doing that type of thing. I think it's okay to keep it as it is with the conferences, and then you're seated that way. That's just my opinion.
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And then when you also look at the complaint about, yes, you're going to have a team that's like 11-5 or whatever that doesn't get a home game. You also got to look at it this way. It'll never be correct because the NFL they don't have a balanced schedule. You're not going to play every team. That's just never going to happen the way it's set up, you know?
Right.
So I kind of look at it in the sense of you change the rule. Then you say, okay, anybody can kind of just be open space. If you have the better record, that's cool. But you take the incentive away from winning the division, which is really what you want to do. You drive your
division.
Yeah, to win a division. And I feel like when you do that, you're kind of eliminating the goal. You know, you might as well just say put all the teams in one conference, or just something like that. There's it doesn't mean anything. You know, winning the AFC West doesn't mean anything anymore because let's say the Chargers are like, you know what, we're going to rest our guys because we have a better record than the team in the AFC South, you know? So we don't really need to play our guys the last game of the season since we don't really need the division. I just think that becomes that problem. And can you blame a coaching staff for saying, hey, I'm going to rest my guys for the wild card game anyway? It just doesn't, you know, because remember, there's only one bye, so it just doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is what it is, man. Like, it's not going to be perfect. Unfortunately, some divisions are stronger than others. It is what it is.
It depends on the year. It ebbs and flows. It changes. So, like I said, to change the rules based on this season, or you're always going to have some inequity there because of the variables. Like I said, the strength of schedule. Somebody that is 12-4 this year maybe had the easiest schedule versus somebody who has, went 10-6 or 10-7 and had to go up against all the top teams. You know, it's just there's so many different variables that you have to take into account to change the rule and take it away from the conferences. I think wouldn't be right. You draft to win your conference, to get in your division, to get into the playoffs. And I think I like it. I like the competitiveness that brings. I don't think that we should change it, but you know, NFL is going to do what they're going to do. So we'll just see.
Right.
And also just because you're a 7-9 team in your division, that doesn't mean you're a bad team. Your division could just be really good. And you guys are beating up on each other. So remember, you've seen the Cowboys
that year, didn't they? Didn't they win that the first game?
Yeah, they won that game. They beat the Saints that year. And that's a great example. But like I also look at the Cowboys. They win the NFC East so often. Obviously not this past year. And then what happens every year? They get knocked out the first round of the playoffs. It doesn't matter. They host the game all the time. So
and not every 14-3, 12-4 team is equal. Like,
exactly.
Sometimes, like you said, they feed off of bad teams, and then you see them go against a good team and they get mud stopped, and then it's like, we kind of saw this coming. You see with the Cowboys, it's like they're front runners. If they ain't got a lead, then they get smoked. So it's just like, and that fault last year, or not last year, but the year before when they went against Green Bay, it was kind of like, kind of saw this coming.
Exactly.
Not surprised. I'm actually not surprised. So now the ever so controversy not tuck rule, but the push has been floored too. Now, personally, I think it's a bunch of people crying because they can't do the move that the one team can do. Like, look, man, they figured the system out, man. Look, and y'all can't beat it. Because they got the right quarterback to make the move effective. They got the right offensive line to make the move effective.
I think it would have been more of an argument had Buffalo been able to pull off. They did it and they were unsuccessful on multiple attempts. So that shows that not everybody can do it and that it's not a guarantee. And since it's not a guarantee, it's kind of like,
because Buffalo don't do it right.
You know,
they don't do it right.
Yep.
Jalen Hurts gets underneath.
It is.
Which is a risk too,
It is,
but that could be risky going down the stretch.
Underneath.
He's
Josh Allen is 6'5", 270, and he runs to the left.
He runs to the left
every time.
Yeah. He runs to the left. I look at it and I say, you know what? We stop the rule with just basically saying we don't want the Eagles to do it, because the Eagles are the only ones that do it consistently. Yeah. And I feel like that's very weird to just you're punishing one team for doing a legal play. That's basically what you're saying, because we can't stop it. And they're like, it's a health risk and you're trying to stop it. Yes, I see defenders get hurt, but offensive players get hurt all the time doing it too. And it's their play. Mm-hmm. So, I just don't understand the whole conversation behind it. Stop them. Like I said, Jalen Hurts is not going to be able to do it forever.
Right.
Yeah, you can't do it forever. He's a strong guy, but sooner or later, you're gonna get caught.
And they only do it in short yardage situations. It's not.
I mean, it's weird though. You can guarantee if you're within 2 yards, they're getting it.
It ain't like they just doing it up and down the field.
Nobody else
is pushing.
Yeah, but that's like if I have to, obviously you can say like Lamar Jackson, but I remember Michael Vick during his prime, and no one could stop him. All these different things. What are you going to say? You're going to make a rule to say Michael Vick can't scramble or something like that? Like it becomes that type of thing. Or like Lamar Jackson, I should say now, he can't run this much because he's a quarterback, because that's basically what we're getting to, that type of territory.
I think you have to keep it now that it's been proven that it can't be duplicated by everyone. It is a skill and that they've learned it. I think you got to let them have it. Now, if it were, like you said, a thing that just no matter who does it across the board, it's a guarantee, then I can understand that, because you're taking the game out of it. You know what I mean? Like we know they get first and goal with 2 yards, they're in there. But like I said, they're the only team that's successful with it. So I don't think they should be penalized for it. It's frustrating when you're the opposing team, but at the end of the day, you have to scheme for it. Like figure out a way to stop it. There's a way to stop it. It's been stopped.
I put two big nose guards up in there and hope they can stop it.
That's like saying, oh, well, we can't have Mahomes throw across his body. Like it's that type of thing. They're going to be like, oh, that's an illegal play or something like that. It's kind of like that. Because no one else does it really, or does it as well, I should say.
We had a question earlier. I wanted to save it for this segment. Miss Tammy asked us, what's your opinion on the 18-week schedule possibility? I think it's inevitable. I think it's going to happen. The NFL is greedy. They're going to give you more games. They want to wear these dudes down to the bone. It is what it is. It is. They wear them down to the bone. They don't care. They already talking about there's going to be 3 games on Christmas this year. So
yeah, expansion, and all of these international games and countries. And it's a great thing. I mean, the sport is expanding. The NFL is booming, baby. Business is booming, and so they're going to do it at some point. They're going to figure it out. I mean, hey, I love seeing football. It seems like it's always so short compared to all the other sports, but I mean, it's a grind. It is a grind. So it's interesting to see how the players are going to like
that. I'm asking.
They'll like it too much. But like I said earlier, the NFL's going to do what they're going to do. So I think it's coming.
I have a concern.
All I'm asking, I am too. All I'm asking is if you're going to do this, you got to give these guys late bye weeks.
Yes.
There it is.
Yeah.
None of these week 5.
Or week 5. Yeah, it's like, come on.
Come on, man.
And we talked about this before, Chris, on a previous show. You had the Chiefs play, and obviously the Chiefs, Steelers, Texans, and Ravens had to play in 11 days. They had to play 3 games in 11 days.
Insane.
Because they were doing they called, and the funny thing was, they put a slogan around it. They called it the Holiday Remix. Those teams are called the Holiday Remix. I'm like, it's a very unhealthy way to have these guys play in such a short period of time, especially in the holidays. They're not even around their families, so you have to practice in between games. I don't know how the Chiefs are able to win all 3 of those games, but realistically, it just doesn't make sense. I understand they said they're going to 3 games. There's going to be 2 games on Netflix again and 1 game at night on Amazon. There used to be a time, and I don't want to go too far from the football part of it. There used to be a time where there was kind of like an agreement amongst the leagues.
Basketball.
The NBA, they had Christmas.
Yes.
The NFL had Thanksgiving.
Yep.
NHL had New Year's. and college football, etc. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it seems like okay, that whole like respect for the other league thing is out the window.
They stepping on it.
Everyone's stepping on each other. I don't know what's changed with the commissioners and their mindsets, but it used to be like a handshake deal amongst the leagues about what day we showcase.
Roger Goodell don't care.
Yeah, that's it. Because that was the thing. You're right. Loved seeing Kobe, and that was Christmas. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like if they're going to expand to, maybe you need to talk about having a second bye week or something, like you said, because player health should be a concern, right? Like, even though we know it's a money-driven world that we live in, like if you don't have players that are healthy and can play, then what do you have? So you have to protect the players. And I think if you're going to expand because you want more games and more revenue, then you need to allot an additional week to have some time off, or you need to open it back up where more than one team gets a bye on that first round in the playoffs. We're trying to let more teams in, which that was a rule change that I kind of didn't agree with. I'm thinking, hey, you need to win to get in. Like, why are we letting an extra team in and then taking away a bye week from a team that deserves it? So, but there's that. But I think that maybe is a way to counteract it. If we're going to extend these seasons, then we have to look at what it might look like to have 2 bye weeks versus 1 bye week.
That might be the best way to go, but then you also got to look at when they do add the extra game, they're just going to take away a preseason game just to balance out the schedule. Because obviously, 2 preseason games. Now, I'm not the biggest preseason fan in the world, but let's be honest, you need the dress rehearsal.
You do.
You've seen how these teams are. That first preseason game is hard to watch around the league. It is not good television. It is not a good viewing experience if you're there. And I've been to plenty preseason games, and I'm just saying to myself, man, I get teams are trying to figure it out.
All their players in preseason.
Yeah, but if they still got to figure out when they're out there. Yeah, they're rusty.
That's why the Bengals look like they look in week 1 every year.
Yeah. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
First 3 games, that's their preseason. They look terrible.
So now the first week
it's important for those rookies and the people that we're undecided on. I get so much, maybe not for your veterans and people that can show up, but this is important for those guys that are coming into the league and trying to get a spot. They need to be evaluated, and so. Like I said, how much can you take from here to put here? That's what they're going to have to figure out. But I do think if you're expanding the season, you've got to think about the health of those players. And then you're not going to get a good product. People are beat up and tired. I mean, like, what are we doing? So.
No, I agree. And my last thing I want to say, I'm sorry, real quick.
Go ahead.
President's Day is a day that they've kind of looked at and said, we want to take advantage of that. They want to move the Super Bowl back probably another week so that you can have the day off after the Super Bowl. And usually it's that Monday, that President's Day Monday is an off day for most people. So the reason why they haven't done it in the past is because of All-Star Weekend for the NBA. Mm-hmm. But as you've seen how NBA All-Star Weekend has gone, they're having possible discussions that they may want to push back and get on that territory as well. They already took over Christmas, so This is a war.
Look, it ain't like
and the NBA's fighting back about that. You heard what Steph and Brian
said. It ain't like the All-Star game is good anyway. So,
but they used to own that time period.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, well, it was good.
It was a big deal.
Maybe I'll get them to play now.
Yeah,
this is Adam Silver. He called Goodell and was like, "Man, put the game back so we can get these dudes to play.
Rile them up."
Oh yeah.
Go around the league and just talk about some key signings from other teams. Sam Darnold, he went to the Seattle Seahawks, signed a 3-year, $105 million deal. Justin Fields, he went to the Jets and signed a 2-year deal, $40 million contract. We all know Russ and Jameis Winston went to the Giants. That room is going to be crazy. The conversations and that.
Don't forget about Tommy DeVito. That's why I said if there was ever a hard knock season to have for training camp,
I just want to hear Russ and I just want to see Jameis preaching to Russell Wilson and they preaching to each other. I just want to see it because that's going to be crazy.
And DeVito, man, I'm telling you,
Tommy
just that combination.
Stephon Diggs, he went to the Patriots and got the bag, 3 years, $69 million. Cooper Kupp went to the Seahawks also, 3 years, $45 million. Devontae Adams, he went to Los Angeles Rams, 42-year, $46 million. D-Hop, he went to the Baltimore Ravens for a 1-year deal. Joey Bosa went to the Buffalo Bills on a 1-year, $12.6 million deal. Josh Sweat, we all know Josh Sweat because he was kicking our ass in the Super Bowl. He got paid from the Arizona Cardinals on a 4-year deal. Who else? Darius Slay, he went to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Carlton Davis, he went to New England. Yeah, those are some of the key signings. What's his name? Drake Greenlaw, he went to Broncos, and Tafunga, he went to the Broncos too. And those two can stay healthy. That's gonna really help their defense out for sure. So, what are some of the key signings that you heard from that list that intrigues you, Miss Diamond?
I didn't like the Joey Bosa to Buffalo, just because Buffalo is always competition.
He'll be out for like 5 weeks anyway.
I mean, I don't know. It's a lot of big moves, man. Like I'm always excited, but I just feel like this is gonna be a good year because it's a lot of movement, and we ain't seen the half of it yet. It's gonna be some more movement going on. So really, the way I look at it, is the Chiefs versus everybody. So really what everybody else is doing is interesting. We're going to see how it really melts together because there's always high hopes at the beginning of every season, but we know the injury bug, unfortunately, rears his head every year. So sometimes the way it looks on the roster and how you think it's going to play out, it's the total opposite. So I just kind of want to see how it goes down. I'm not too shaken by any of those moves. I feel like the core team that the Chiefs have and the moves that we'll make will be able to still run up against anybody. So for me, I'm just still waiting for all the pieces to fall in. But like I said, the Tooney thing was surprising, him leaving. And then there was one more. I can't think of who it was that you said I was going to talk about. But yeah, outside of that, I feel good. I feel good about the movement.
What you think, Ed?
I'm a little surprised you didn't bring up the big Mason Rudolph signing to Pittsburgh. Come on, man. He's currently on the
I'd rather talk about Geno going to the Raiders.
He's just starting quarterback. Come on.
It's gonna be Aaron.
But that's gonna be interesting. The division's gonna be interesting this year.
But seriously, I do look at not even just the new signings, but the extensions that the Bengals did. I mean, my goodness, you're talking about, and I'm happy for both of those guys to get paid. Sure. But from an organizational standpoint, if I'm putting a team together, I'm paying all this money to my quarterback and my 2 wide receivers.
Yeah,
granted,
they can't pay nobody else.
Exactly. Granted, great players, but where's the rest of the money going to go? And what is left of that rest of said money?
And it wasn't the offense wasn't the problem last year. They need defense.
That's going to be the thing. They have who's going to play defense, who's going to take less to play defense.
A bunch of rookies, I guess.
See,
that is going to be a story. I don't think it was so unexpected when I saw. I was like, wait, that can't be real.
Yeah, that's a good call. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that is.
I would have traded T. Higgins and got some picks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think everybody would have done that. Mm-hmm. And this is no slight towards neither one of those guys. They're talented.
Absolutely.
When you're putting a team together, you need guys, and I think that Hendrickson is he wants to get traded. Isn't that a whole thing now?
Yeah.
If you can't pay him.
Yeah.
I don't know what Cincinnati's doing. Obviously, Joe Burrow has a lot of say in that. And remember, he already got his own bag. That's an interesting situation. I'm curious to see what that looks like in year 2. Year 2, year 3, I'm curious to see what that looks like, that team. So
that's a good call. I don't. But hey, makes it easier. The press. Like, I don't know that.
Yeah, it's hard to think about that one. But I got one more out there.
Go ahead.
Davante Adams. I bring up Davante Adams just because I'm not saying that I don't think he's the same player that he once was, because he is getting older. Mm-hmm. But this was a deal in order to free up Puka and get him some more opportunities, because Davante Adams is still Davante Adams. He's still going to draw attention. But Puka is the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He is the guy there. And now the whole quarterback situation, at first Matthew Stafford was going to be a giant. That's what everybody was saying. Matthew Stafford, you're running it back with him. He's an older quarterback as well. I'm curious to see what the Rams do in the draft, because they're not that much younger. I don't know. Some of these moves, like I would not have expected them to say, let's get Davante Adams, just because you don't know what you're doing at quarterback past this season. Because you almost didn't have Matthew Stafford this year.
Right.
So I'm really, obviously just the NFC team, and it just really shocked me that Stafford is staying, and then he said, okay, we're going to give him another weapon when Davante Adams, I don't think he's going to be the same player. That's just the reality. Puka's the guy. Does this make it easier for Puka? Probably. Yes, it does. But longevity-wise, I don't know. I just don't see the plan with the Rams.
I could see that working somewhat, depending on how they play him. Because like you said, Puka is the guy. Stafford, we know, is talented. He's still got it, in my opinion. And so I think Davante teaming up with the quarterback that can get it to him versus, I don't know what he was thinking this year going to the Jets, just to be honest. Like I thought that was a total bad decision for him to do that. But I think, with him being on that type of team, I think he probably will have some success and put up some numbers. But like I said, to your point, these are things that people don't think about. The long game. I think the Chiefs do a good job of thinking about the long game a little better than some of the other teams around the league.
I agree.
Look, my thing is this. Myles Garrett, I understand, man.
Oh, yeah.
You want to get the bag, brother.
Well, that's all about the money, man. That's right there.
I'm so sick of these players. You put out a full page talking about you was gonna leave. You wasted our time, man.
I was shocked. I said, "Are you kidding me? We did all of this. I want to win. And then you on back like
you doing this.
I
get it. The 123 million M's. I get it, brother.
Happen. I could be wrong. We got to record it. You can roll it back if I'm wrong. But the Browns ain't about to go to the Super Bowl this year. Like, what are you doing? If you wanted to win, this was your opportunity to get out. But I understand, hey, it's not me making these deals. They have families and the money is big. I get it. But it's just like you have to remember that, just like other players that have gone to get the bag and then they want to come back to where it's green and where they can get championships. That's the give and the take. You got your money, but you're more than likely not going to get a Super Bowl in Cleveland anytime soon. So, like, there's that.
Shout out to Nicole Lynn. She was like, hey, sign this.
She knows exactly what she's doing. Listen, as fast as he put out that full page ad, listen, she was already preparing. I'm coming back to beach when she saw the number. She was like, really? Okay, I'm going to call him right now.
Wait.
And I don't
serious?
Myles Garrett is good. I mean,
that's a good number. That's a good number.
Man.
Guaranteed. I gotta keep throwing that out there. In the NFL, get guaranteed money. That is not, that's not normal.
No, it's not.
normal. I get
but
it.
It's just my thing is that and then on the Browns' perspective, you already got Deshaun Watson over here with this bad contract. You could have got some stuff for Myles Garrett. Like you could have got some picks and really just try to fix this roster up just to make it respectful. Because you got talent. Because it's not like the Browns are devoid of talent. They got talent over there. You know what I'm saying? They just need a quarterback.
They let Nick Chubb walk. So
we'll see where he goes because people are scared of that injury, but still, it's just like I don't know what the Browns are doing. Like, I don't know what the Browns are doing.
Ohio's got some.
I don't know what the Bengals are doing.
Right? Yeah, Ohio. What's happening?
Something in the water. Cincinnati or something in the chili. I don't know.
It starts. I'm telling you, you can't take for granted good leadership, good front office, good because this is when you see it. And I'm not saying that they have a bad front office, but I'm just saying the management of roster, of money, all of that. This is who gets the championships. You have to have it from the top down. It starts in the office and in the draft rooms and with the money, with the GMs. And
just a reminder, and I think a big reason why a lot of these players are getting re-signed, and this is just my opinion, they watched Hard Knocks, the training camp with the New York Giants. They saw what happened when they let a generational talent just walk.
Yeah.
And mind you, it wasn't just bad enough that they let Saquon walk and he had one of the greatest
ever
by a running back and then won a Super Bowl. It was the fact that it was chronicled on HBO. That's as damaging as it gets. I'm sorry for the Giants. That's as damaging as it gets.
Yeah, he was like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just Saquon. Even though I do like Tyrone Tracy, I do like the running back they got right now. He's not Saquon, but he's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Saquon doesn't have to run for another yard to prove a point. He's
No.
He's solidified. Man. He was already solidified, but now he's really solidified.
He was always good. He just couldn't stay healthy, and then he finally. I mean,
but
wow!
They ran him to the ground.
This is who we thought he was going to be when he came into the league. Like there he is.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the one interesting thing is what the Colts are going to do with Anthony Richardson, because if you think Daniel Jones is the answer,
that means Anthony Richardson is safe. Listen,
I
will tell you, you don't want to go Daniel Jones. You'll be okay. Anthony Richardson, all the problems that he's had, and whether or not he's a quarterback in this league, he'll wait another year because Daniel Jones ain't the answer either.
Yeah.
They'll be fine.
Last year, if he loses his job to Daniel Jones,
stranger things have happened. But I don't see it either. But
get the hell out of Dodge, Anthony. Go somewhere else. Get traded somewhere else, man. So, but go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I said he'll be a backup anywhere else he goes. I've never been. I don't want to knock him down, but I just haven't seen anything from Anthony Richardson. He's a consistent starter in this league. That's just. And obviously, we go back to when he took himself out the game. Mm-hmm. No player, no coach will ever forget that moment.
No, they won't.
Take yourself out the game.
But I think he could be redeemable. If he has a good season this year, he'll be all right. They'll forget about it.
That's tough. Got a heck of a season, man. I hope he does well. I really do. Mm-hmm. I really do hope he does well.
I do too. He just got to develop as a passer. They got the weapons over there. You got a top 5 running back in Jonathan Taylor. You got some good wide receivers and Pittman and what's his name, Pierce and A.D. Mitchell and Josh Downs.
They always have a chance in that division. I mean, look at the division.
And then the Chiefs, we always hate playing them because some weird stuff always happens when we play the Colts. But yeah, man, he just got to develop better as a consistent passer. That's all. If he can be consistent, that's how I feel about Justin Fields.
You're said and done, I guess.
Maybe I'm being strict here, but when you're in the NFL, especially after 2 or 3 seasons, you have to be a consistent passer if you're going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. And this goes to Daniel Jones as well. Yeah, I just feel like you've been in this league long enough. You have to be developed by now. That's why they always say like 2 to 3 seasons they give a quarterback a shot to. Mm-hmm. We saw improvement with Young in Carolina because he really came on strong towards the end of last season. I'm happy that he's staying there. Kyler Murray's another guy. Kyler Murray, I feel like was 1 game away from being out of a job. So he's another guy
because he played terrible in the second half.
I mean, he did. But
he was balling like the first 5 games. They came back from that bye week, and it was like, you playing too much Call of Duty or something? Because what's going on here, man?
Yeah, and
he's bad, and he's talented. He got an arm. Like I've seen him win games put the team on his back and win games or whatever. But sometimes he'll have that's how I feel about Jordan Love. Like Jordan Love could look like one of the best top 5 quarterbacks in the league, and next thing you know, he throw a pick, and it's like, what was you throwing at, man?
Jordan Love is an interesting case because he's very efficient when he's on.
Yeah,
he is very efficient.
He's talented. Now, I think they need
Justin Herbert too, along those lines as well. Yes. It's time for him to show improve at this point because the Chargers have had teams. They've had really good teams, and they just can't get over some of the decision making. And so I think this will be a big year to see what Justin Herbert's got because he's always been put in that top quarterback conversation. But last season wasn't the best look. So I think this is a big season for him. See what
Trevor Lawrence also.
Yeah.
A lot of people
he's in danger.
Him. So it's gonna be interesting.
Tua.
He said Tua?
He said Tua.
Tua.
Yeah.
He's trying to be Tyreek Hill, like, man, get me the hell up out of
here. Yeah, Tyreek Hill's been doing a lot of talking, man.
Get me out of here, man.
Had a conversation with Dwayne Bowe.
He's been sending big head to Patrick Mahomes.
Well, he walked it back. He said that he wanted to stay in Miami. So
he say that.
The money's good. Money's good, Miami.
He say that. But
is the money good? He stopped playing. He put on his team.
Is the money good, Ed? Because he got a lot of child support.
Oh man, see, I'm not gonna go down that road. Right, I'm not saying about that. I'm not touching that.
Yeah, a little bit too much fun out of Miami.
I was looking at the Texas situation, but that's all I was saying. Miami's a little different.
Yeah, the money's good, but like I said, it seems like a lot of the players want to win. What was Miles Garrett? I mean, they end up taking the money, but then when they take the money, then you still hear those rumblings when things start going how we knew they were going to go with these teams. We knew, like I figured Miami would be a competitor, but I mean, against the list of other teams, I didn't see them taking it all the way this year. I just didn't, and I don't see it this coming year. Same thing like I said, Cleveland, we ain't even about to get on that. That's not going to happen. They can be competitive. I'm not saying they can't make a postseason appearance, but they have to prove me wrong. Until I see otherwise, I can't put them up here. So they make their choices, and then when it starts getting dicey, then that's when they kind of fall back. And it's like, no, you live by the sword, die by the sword. You got to keep playing. You got to produce. You're on the team, so you don't get to sit back because you start losing. You got your money, so you got to go out there and play.
I'm interested to see what the San Francisco 49ers is going to look like next year.
Oh, Brock Purdy's another one you can add to that list, being on the hot seat, because he's another guy.
Dallas is quarterback too. Dak.
Yeah. Dak is another.
They're talking about giving Brock Purdy $55 million.
Yeah.
That is. If they do that, San Francisco deserve everything that's coming to them.
I mean,
I'm telling you that right now. You pay Brock Purdy $55 million. Y'all deserve everything that's coming to y'all.
Well, this
I don't want to hear no 49er fans complaining either. That's what y'all wanted.
Well, you heard what he said in a recent interview. That's got a lot of that put a lot of doubt in his future. He said the reason why the team failed to perform at the end of the season is because they were fatigued. They were tired. That's probably not what you want to say if you're the starting quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers, because
some things just don't need to be
tired. Aren't we all? Aren't they all like?
And that's the problem. You don't say that.
Man, we just had a bad season. Things ain't going
well. He was tired.
Well, he took himself out the game. He's got the helmet.
I'm out.
You can't say it.
And they're going to add another game, and players are already tired.
In a contract year, you can't.
No, he can't say that. It's just like my man that's about to get drafted, Ted McMillan, the wide receiver Arizona, talking about, I don't watch the NFL and I don't watch film either. I just watch it with the team. Man, if I'm a GM, I'm scared.
Just say nothing.
I am scared. You don't watch film? Yeah, buddy. You're going to be a second round pick.
I feel sorry for the PR people that have to deal with the fallout from that, because those are tough. Those are tough situations.
His agent called him right away. What are you doing?
Yeah.
He was a top 15 pick. Now you gonna drop. Because if I'm a GM, I'm like, I hear that. Oh, he don't love football.
Yeah.
He don't love it. You don't watch it? Like, I never understood that. How do you play a game and you don't watch, not even a little bit?
I think that's when their age starts to show. Their age and just,
but it's just like,
and everybody's different. Everybody's got different motivations. Like you said, you got those players, and you see it in the game of play. The people who love it, live it, breathe it. Those are the ones that are the most successful. Take that to any sport. With Michael Jordan, with Kobe Bryant, they literally slept, breathed. Their whole life was the sport. And then you have some people that this is a job. I'm coming to work, and they treat it as such. They don't really put as much into it, and that's what you get out of it. So. And
that's fine. You could treat it as a job, since you said the NBA. I think Nikola Jokic, he treats it like a job. He says, I do my job and I leave. He don't want to, go to parades and everything. Like, that's fine. That's perfectly fine.
I'm sure he work on his game. Though.
Yeah, to me, that's part of the job. Watching tape is part of your duties as a player.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to watch different corners and different coverages and stuff. You got to know what the quarterback wants you to do in certain plays and instances. Like, I don't know. Hopefully he'll get to the NFL and he'll learn. Son, around here, you got to watch film. Watch film around here, son.
Kyler got in trouble for that too. Then.
Yes, yeah. He was the one they put in his contract that he had to show up for film, or it was like certain days he had to check in on his iPad. It's
that's
really
scary for your quarterback.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is it
like if it's your tight end, it's like, all right, whatever. Running back, whatever. You just hit the hole right there. But your quarterback's in. Oh man, I ain't watching no film today. How do you know what coverages you looking at out there, man? Like, you just throwing the football. Like, hey, it worked for Brett Favre for so many years. So I guess whatever.
That's a whole other story. Yeah.
That's it's a new day now.
Yeah, it's a whole other story.
Work for Brett Favre. I guess not everybody has to watch film. Yeah. So, all right, y'all. Appreciate y'all coming on the show, talking football, man.
Good time.
Appreciate y'all, man. Excited for the draft in 3 weeks. See what the Chiefs do. Get this team.
Green Bay.
Yeah. Nobody wants to go to Green Bay. Shout out to Green Bay, though.
I was gonna say shout out to Wisconsin.
But y'all don't need no draft. No. But no, I'm excited for the draft. I've always loved the draft. Like I said, I'm excited to see not just the Chiefs, just all the teams, what they do. You know what I'm saying? The moves that they make, and see if Buffalo trades with us again so we can get a player that's going to kick their ass and play.
Nobody's going to. They probably got a call. Nobody trade. Nobody help the Chiefs.
See if they trade with us. They're going to be the one. No, they're going to get us this year. They're going to get Walter Nolan. Watch Ed. They're going to get Walter Nolan right before us.
I think it's they probably will. They probably will. That guy is going to be a beast, man.
They're going to not this year. Nah. You ain't getting him. And then if he's there, Chiefs, don't let the damn Eagles get him either.
Oh, yeah.
You put him next to Jalen Carter. You better have the greatest offensive line ever.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. But all right, y'all, man. I appreciate y'all coming on the show. You know, y'all always welcome to come on. Y'all pretty much family of the show now. Not even friends. Y'all family of the show now. You know what I'm saying? So appreciate y'all. Go ahead and shout out some stuff that y'all got going on. DJ Diamond, you go first.
I mean, just as always, still DJing and social media, all that. I mean, sorry, you got me off guard. But yes, follow me, social media, Instagram, TikTok, all of that at DJ Diamond Diva. A ton of things always happening and going on. So like I said, just follow me to stay current on all of that. You got sports, KC stuff, all of that. So just rock with me. Thanks for having me.
And Mr. Ed Easton, you got anything going on? Articles, interviews, things of that nature?
Oh, definitely. Of course, we're going to be continuing the coverage leading up to the draft, looking at different scouting reports or potential picks. Also, I have a couple of interviews. We just did, I just did one with Chad Ochocinco.
Nice.
Talking about recapping the Super Bowl. I also have one with Sophie Cunningham, WNBA player going to the Indiana Fever from Missouri, Chiefs fan. She discusses going to Arrowhead Stadium and how she wants to bring Caitlin Clark to a game. So good stuff. Check it out on Chiefs Wire at Ed Easton Jr. on all social media.
Nice.
All right, y'all. Appreciate y'all coming on. Till next time. Bye. See y'all later. All right, Cheese Kingdom. Another great show. Appreciate, like I said, I always appreciate our guests coming on, talk Chiefs with us. Go ahead and land this thing up. You look down at the bottom, you see the link, emqpodcast.com/locker-room. If you click on that link, you see the locker room access of all the podcasts under the Every Morning Quarterback umbrella. They got a Chiefs, or they got a Patriots one, a Bears one, a 49ers one, and they got ours. Arrowhead Chief Podcast. Click on the banner. You see our episodes from the recent to the past ones. Also, they have their own YouTube channel. Check them out. Subscribe to their channel. They talk about everything NFL league-wide. They talk about college football, and they give you betting tips for the week. So go ahead and subscribe to those brothers at Every Morning Quarterback. Whatever streaming platform you use, whether it be Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, whatever you use to listen to your podcast, Arrowhead Chief Podcast is available. Also, first time watch on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, that like button, hit that notification button. So when we go live on Wednesdays around 5 or 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, you could jump in the lives with us, talk about these topics. Also, if you listen on the playback, leave a comment in the comment section. Yeah, man, subscribe to the channel, man, because we need y'all support. And whatever social media platform you use, whether it be Facebook, TikTok, X, Threads, Twitch, Instagram, whatever you use to do your social media on, Arrowhead Chief Podcast available at AH Chief Podcast. So go ahead and follow us. We will follow you back because we're not Hollywood. We're just some regular guys who love talking football and talking Chiefs. So go ahead and follow us if you have critiques, if you have feedback. Also, if you have a question or topic that's Chiefs related or NFL related, and we like said topic or question, we will bring it up on the show. We'll shout you out on the show because we want to show love to those who show love to us. So go ahead and hit us up via DMs, email, or in our mentions. All right, good people. Until next week, man, I hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Getting ready for this draft coming up. And till then, I'm out.